The Fantasy Skirmisher.
When I was young, I received a magical Christmas present from Santa. My parents. It was the Blue Box Dungeons & Dragons set. Unfortunately, it was looked at more than it was played because I only had 2 friends who were interested in playing, and neither lived close enough to play it regularly. Not too long afterwards, I discovered another role-playing game, and it was also designed for solitaire play. Published in 1975 by Flying Buffalo, Tunnels and Trolls is the second ever RPG game that was published, and it was designed by Ken St. Andre, who wanted to create a simpler alternative to Dungeons and Dragons. I had the 5th edition box set, which was first published in 1979. The 5th edition was the most widely used edition and is still used today. In 2005, a version 5.5 edition came out, and also in 2005, a 7th edition came out that was published by Fiery Dragon Games, and it's also known as the 30th Anniversary Edition. I really don't know what the relation is between Flying Buffalo, Tunnels and Trolls, and Fiery Dragon is. But if someone knows, please leave a comment. I'd appreciate it. Anyway, in 2015, a deluxe edition was published, and more recently, some classic solitaire modules have been updated to be used with the deluxe edition. But I digress. Sadly, Rick Loomis, the founder of Flying Buffalo, died in 2019. I looked at the company website in 2021 and saw that Flying Buffalo was bought by a company called Webbed Sphere. The Tunnels and Trolls section of the Flying Buffalo website only had the deluxe edition rules available for sale, and there was no other information available on other Tunnels and Trolls products. Earlier this year, in 2022, I revisited the website, and I'm pleased to say that Tunnels and Trolls is back. I have 2 piles here, what I call BDE, before Deluxe Edition, and ADE, after Deluxe Edition. It's important to note that Tunnels and Trolls uses only 6-sided dice. Polyhedral dice were very difficult to find when this game was first designed back in the 1970s, and so that was a part of the design intent to have something that's more accessible than D&D was back in the day. Tunnels and Trolls takes place in the Tolkien-esque world, but with more of the whimsy of The Hobbit, I think, than Lord of the Rings, because it has a quirky sense of humor. The art of Steve Crompton, Rob Carver, and especially Liz Danforth provides the game's aesthetic. It's an old-school pen and paper RPG that doesn't need terrain or miniatures. Tunnels and Trolls is a great choice to introduce people that are new to RPGs. It's also great to play with your family since it's very simple. And of course, it's great for solitaire play because they have lots of solitaire modules. And I think it's also a great choice for veteran RPG players. It's just a good system. Character creation is fast and easy, and there's a few ways to do it. Races include the classics such as humans, elves, dwarves, hobs, also known as hobbits, leprechauns, and fairies. The character's races affect his or her attributes. So I created a character that I ran through Buffalo Castle, which is the very first solitaire module that was designed. And you can see here that I've got the name. His name is Conan, which is a mashup of Kull and Conan, the 2 barbarians. He's a human warrior. The gender is male. He has long, dirty blonde hair like I did when I was a teenager. And he's 6 foot tall, and 210 pounds, and aged 19. He's a level 1 character, which is why he's young. He's still trying to make his way in the world. And I thought this was a pretty good representation of my character. Now, this character sheet is available for free at Drive-Thru RPG. If you want something much simpler, those are certainly available. But I thought this was fun. And so now we have the attributes, the different stats, of which there's 8. We've got strength, and strength determines how heavy of a weapon you can carry, things like that, or use. We have a constitution, and a constitution determines how tough your character is, and that's where the hit points are taken off. You can see I need to erase the 14 here from my last adventure when I took damage. Now you might note that his constitution's 18. And so what happened is you roll 3 dice for each of your stats. But if you roll triples, you get to roll again and add those. And so you could come up with some really crazy stats using that rule. Then we've got dexterity, and that applies to shooting, nimbleness, how quickly you could react to things, speed, luck, and luck is mainly used for saving rolls. And you have IQ, a wizard, and that came out, I think, edition 5.5, certainly 7th edition. And you deduct your wizard points to be able to cast spells. And then you've got charisma. Also, for each level, you get to pick a talent. I chose lock picking, and I think that's more beneficial probably for a GM run campaign as opposed to doing a solitaire adventure. But if I have a solitaire adventure and it requires me making a saving roll against my luck to be able to open a chest or something, I'm certainly going to add my +3 to the saving roll. And then we have something called personal adds, which is a part of combat. So there's 4 stats: strength, dexterity, speed, and luck. And for each of these attributes that is over 12, you add that number over 12 to the personal adds. So you can see I have 2 personal adds for strength, and I have 1 personal add for luck because it goes over 12. Dexterity and speed are at 12. So whenever I am in combat, I can add 3 to my dice rolls. And then you've got weight possible, how much you could carry in units, how much I'm currently carrying. I got to subtract out the money, hadn't done that yet. Adventure points, also known as experience points. The equipment I have a spiked shield and a basic Delver's package, which has torches, twine, things like that. And since I have a strength of 14, I was able to purchase a mace, which gives me 5d6s in combat. Now, depending on the race you choose, the stats can be modified. That is not the case for humans, as you see here. But for other races, there's 2 types of dwarves, and you can see that you would, for both, double the strength and constitution. Luck here is 0.75, and of course, you reduce the height as well. So dwarves, obviously are pretty good in combat, and you can see elves, how you multiply to get different stats for that race, and so on and so forth, to include, fairies, leprechauns, and hobs. So one special ability that humans have is that since they don't have these multipliers and other abilities, that they can re-roll a saving roll, which we'll cover in a little bit. Combat is simple and straightforward, and it's a very flexible system. Basically, it's handled by comparing dice rolls between a character and his opponent, or opponents. Both sides roll a number of dice determined by which weapon is in use, such as my mace that rolls 5 dice. Then you modify it by the appropriate result with the personal adds, and if you recall, I have 3 personal adds. The totals are compared, with the higher roll damaging the opposing combatant by the difference in totals. Now, any armor you may have absorbs any damage taken, so my shield absorbs 4 damage with my character, and the amount remaining is subtracted from the constitution stat. Now, later editions include spike damage, where each 6 rolled on the combat dice causes 1 damage regardless of armor and who won the combat. So that way you don't run into a stalemate situation if you have a high level character that has lots of armor. Now, most monsters are handled by something called a monster rating instead of attributes. The monster rating shows how well it could fight and how much damage it could take. So if you take a look here, got the monster rating. So for example, 1 to 9 rolls 1 combat dice, a monster rating of 10 to 19, 2, so on and so forth. So if you have a monster rating of 30, you would roll 4 dice, And also you would get half that monster rating number in personal adds. So let's just say had a orc chieftain monster rating of 30. He rolls 4 dice in combat and gets 15 personal adds. Now that is obviously a heck of a lot more than my 4 for my character. So I definitely would need to level up and be very wary of having combat with someone like that. Now, when a monster takes damage and say the monster rating goes down, you're still rolling the same number of dice. So in this case, that orc would still roll 4 dice. But let's just say he took damage and he was at a monster rating of 24. Then his personal adds would be half of 24. So he is getting weaker even though he's rolling the same number of dice in combat. The beauty of this combat system is that it could easily handle any number of combatants. So your character could go up against, say, 5 kobolds, and the game master or the solitaire module, whatever, you're just rolling 1 handful of dice for those kobolds and then subtracting the numbers and killing them off as you have combat with them. Missile weapons work a little bit differently in that damage is mitigated by armor alone. That is, the opponent's hit point total, which reflects its ability to defend itself, is not subtracted from the damage you have done. To hit, a shooter must make a saving roll against their dexterity stat. Now, I've mentioned saving rolls already, but there's many times where a GM or a solitaire module will ask you to make a saving roll. Mostly this is against your luck stat. So to do this, you roll 2 dice together against a target number. If you roll doubles, you can roll them again and add the new results to your total. So this is known as Darrow, meaning doubles add, roll over. And as I already mentioned, humans have the special ability to re-roll their saving roll, but they must accept the new result. So you can look at this table here. You have a saving roll number or level, and you got the target number that you must roll against. And so it could be quite tough, especially if you're just a low-level average human, to be able to make, some of these higher level saving rolls. So that Darrow roll does help you try to achieve that. When it comes to magic, basically magic costs points to cast and are deducted from your whiz stat. You can cast 1 spell per round, and it takes time to recover used whiz. So you can see here that depending on the spell level, you need to have a minimum IQ requirement and a minimum dexterity requirement to be able to use those spells. And one thing that's really fun about spells is just the names of the spells. And that kind of goes back to me saying that, this game is kind of quirky and fun and, and kind of has more of the whimsy of The Hobbit than it does Lord of the Rings. So for example, here's a spell called Oh, Go Away. And you can see that this, if you successfully cast this, you can make your opponents flee. So let's just take a look at a few spells. Hocus Focus. So this enchants any non-magical item into a temporary wizard's focus. It's elementary. This is kind of a cool spell. The caster must specify fire, small flame, water, splash, ice, ice gust, earth, pebbles, or wind, puff of air. Each is capable of 1 point of damage depending on the use. So it's got some text here that these spells light torches and campfires, can chill a mug of beer, douse campfires, or provides enough water to wash your face. Wind gust can move a small object. So this could be a really handy spell in a GM run campaign. And you can see that it costs 4, which go against your whiz stat, and you eventually get those points back as time passes. So you've got different schools of magic. You've got combat, cosmic, construction, clairvoyant, and conveyance. So each spell shows you what school it comes from. And probably one of the most popular spells is, where is it? There it is. Take That, You Fiend. So it deals deadly killing damage equal to the caster's IQ affecting a single target. And spells called Oh Go Away, to make opponents turn and go away. Knock Knock, that helps with unlocking tough locks, things like that. So there's just a lot of fun spell names in here. And there's quite a few. And now for the show and tell part, and we're going to start with BDE, or Before Deluxe Edition. And these are not original modules that I owned back when I was a kid. I started recollecting them in the mid-2000s, via eBay and other sources. But you can, there's, I think, over 30 Solitaire modules now. And you can see Naked Doom is Solitaire module number 4. And it's got a little bit of a flavor text on the back. They caught you and you're in trouble now. The city of Kazan does not believe in coddling criminals. And now you must run the Royal Kazan Gauntlet of criminal retribution and rehabilitation, so on and so forth. And more on Kazan and other cities and places in a moment. So I've got Solitaire module number 4. And here is a deluxe module, City of Terrors. This is a thick book here. And this is solo number 9. And I also have an update in my After Deluxe Edition kit. The Arena of Kazan. And this is just a fun combat game. You're going up against monsters. You're trying to have your characters survive. There's a lot of death in this game, but if you can survive the treasures and leveling up can be really helpful for other modules. Beyond the Wall of Tears, Solo 18. And I apologize to French speakers, but I cannot pronounce your lovely language to save my life. So I have Solitaire number 19. The Amulet of Salkti, number 20. And again, the back describes what the adventure is about. And this one, when I picked up the 7th edition and kind of got reacquainted with Tunnels and Trolls back, I think it was 2007, around then, I found this online. And this is an independent Solitaire module called Tilford's Hollow. And you can see written by A.R. Holmes with a UK website. But it looks like this one was printed here in the United States. And here we go, 2006. So I thought that was kind of cool that there was, fan-made materials available. This is a GM adventure. And, it's got, all the maps. It even has little standee characters and monsters. And I have not played through this one. I just picked it up because I love the cover and I'm always hopeful that someday somebody would want to play this. Now, back in the late 70s to the early 80s, and I'm not sure the exact dates, I think it's like 78 to 83 or 84, something like that. There is a magazine that supported Tunnels and Trolls called Sorcerer's Apprentice. And so these are some of the magazines that I have. I had one that I found from back in the day, and the others I picked up probably on eBay, I don't remember. So this has fiction, it's got some Solitaire and Game Master adventures in here. It's got additional rules. So lots of great material and artwork, fan-made and otherwise. So these are nice to have and collect, if you get into Tunnels and Trolls. And also part of my reacquaintance, and I think I got this at my local friendly game store when I picked up Tunnels and Trolls 30th Anniversary Edition. I saw this in the game store and was surprised to see it, to be honest, and surprised to see this in a tin. I was also surprised to see that it was published by Fiery Dragon. Oh, here we go. Tunnels and Trolls is produced under license by Flying Buffalo. Okay, so This is a small solitaire module for free RPG day where you play a goblin trying to survive, and it's got the basic rules here as part of the book. And before I get into this, I think I need to share this. So I actually recently picked this up on the revamped Flying Buffalo Tunnels and Trolls website. And this is for those of you across the pond in the United Kingdom. This is what you guys had back in the 1980s. So there was 2 solo adventures per book, and it was published by Corgi, I believe. And I had heard of these before. I was aware of it. Corgi, there we go. So you can see the Corgi edition was published in 1986. And 5 books here are available, at least they were when I last checked the website, if you're into collecting this. And I believe this book is just short stories in the Tunnels and Trolls world. And there's artwork that begins with every story. And I look forward to reading this. So I think this was published 1991. Oh, 1992. I stand corrected. So I want to say that WebSphere, which bought Flying Buffalo, did an inventory of a lot of old stock and came across, some old product in mint condition in storage and put it up for sale. So I'm sure when it's gone, but I had no idea this existed back in the day. All right, now back to 2007 at my game store, and I found this. This artwork in this book does not include anything by Liz Danforth and the others. And Liz Danforth, besides her artwork for the game, she's been a producer, an editor for the game. She's really a part of that Tunnels and Trolls family that makes the game what it is. But the 7th edition added, some new stats such as, whiz, things like that, and made combat a little more crunchy. And I can't tell you what the popularity of this was compared to 5th edition, but I looked online and it looks like I could get a good chunk of change for this if I decided to sell it. And here it comes with alternative rules. And so when I looked at this, I recall it including some of that more crunchy combat rules, like wizard advancement, equipment, things like that. Comes with dice, Tunnels and Trolls, Monsters and Magic book. So this comes with the bestiary, which Tunnels and Trolls never had, which I think is interesting. So it comes with the monster ratings, like a Chimera monster rating of 147, typically found on dungeon level 2, has the combat dice, 15 d6s plus 74 adds. That's crazy. Okay, so anyway, it's got that, but to match up with the artwork in the bestiary are these little chits that you could use. So not only characters, but monsters as well. So that's kind of a nice touch. But again, I'm not sure what you would use these for, since you really don't need it in Tunnels and Trolls. And comes with a CD. I never looked to see what was on the CD, but there you go. And then finally, it comes with a map. So I'm assuming that, if you have the map and the chits, it's for that more crunchy combat. But again, for me, it's, theater of the imagination when it comes to adventuring in Troll World. All right, now let's go ahead and take a look at the new stuff and stuff that's readily available. All right, so we've already took a little look at the Deluxe edition, and it is huge compared to previous editions, especially the 5th edition. This has everything you could possibly need to run a Tunnels and Trolls adventure, either a one-off or a campaign. The one book does it all. There's no separate player and GM books. bestiaries or anything like that. Everything is here in the one book. One thing I thought was really cool looking through this is the color section. So it's got a little bit of history, art history, the 5th and 7th edition covers compared to the Deluxe cover. And one thing Tunnels and Trolls never had before was a map of the world. That was just something that you used your imagination for, but all those places, the city of Gull and Kazan and all those places are represented in this map. And one thing that I think is really cool is that all of the classic Tunnels and Trolls scenarios are listed and keyed on the map where they take place. So there's Kazan right there, and Khazar, and you can see these is where a lot of these Solitaire modules take place. So for example, you could see Buffalo Castle and Death Trap Equalizer, which we'll look at in a minute, take place nearby the city of Kosht. So there's Buffalo Castle and Death Trap Equalizer. And not off the map, the city of Gull, where the City of Tears Deluxe module takes place, is not on this continent, but an island. And you can see that it's got lots of maps, and there's the island of Foron, and there's the City of Gull, where the City of Tears takes place. So this is a really nice touch, having this color section here. And the game also, I should say that the rule book also has a Solitaire module as well as a GM one in the back, so you can get started right away. And just it's got a lot of great artwork throughout, some old classics, and then some newer ones. This one's from 1991 here. You can see looks like 1983. Of course, got the spells. And so some of this artwork, is stuff that I recognized when I was a kid. And then there's a lot of new stuff that was added for the special edition here. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at some of the other new materials. So this is the first Solitaire adventure, and it's been redone for Deluxe Tunnels and Trolls. So it's an updated edition since, like I said, they've added a few new rules such as spike damage and also new attributes such as Whiz. But basically, it sets up the adventure right here. Then you go to the first paragraph, or you decide where to start, and then you go through the castle trying to accomplish the mission. If you do, you get a great reward, but even if you exit without winning, you still get experience and any treasure that you may have picked up along the way. So what I did is I went into a room, there was a fountain, and on the fountain I could choose to drink from it, to ignore it, go through another door. I chose to drink from it, and that allowed me to increase my intelligence by 6. So what happened is you roll a die to see if it negatively or positively impacts a stat, and then you roll to see what stat it is. And so that's how I was able to increase my IQ considerably. Don't know how I'm going to use it yet as a fighter, but I thought that was kind of cool. There's the fountain. And there's wandering monster rooms. And if you go back into a room you've already explored, you roll to see if a wandering monster appears. And in the back of the book, there is a wandering monster table where you roll 2d6 to determine what it is. So after you've played this, 2 or 3 times, and you've kind of, you've already played through the Solitaire module, you can also use this as a GM module. So it provides the map at the end and some guidelines on how to run an adventure with others. And Solitaire module number 2 is also updated for the Deluxe edition. And I look forward to running this. I'll probably do it next since it takes place in the same area. And you can see this is kind of a paragraph-driven, choose-your-own-adventure type, but these modules predate the choose-your-own-adventure fad that got popular in the 1980s. So this is not like a modern solitaire RPG where you're rolling on one chart after another. That's not the case here. You're given a set of choices, and depending on the choice you make, could be a matter of life and death, actually. And sometimes those choices have a bigger impact on your character and how well you do than any monsters you may fight. And like I said, I have the older City of Terrors, and here's the new updated one. And a colored version of this is was on a previous edition that I used to have. You can see just a lot of artwork throughout. So I look forward to adventuring in the City of Terrors. And there's a new module that just came out called Elven Lords, a deluxe edition. I think they even have this available hardbound as well. And this also takes place in the city of Gull. So just reading this here. Gull, the largest city on the Isle of Foron, welcomes you once again. The Chamber of Commerce, in its vain attempt to shed the terrible image created by the city's nickname, City of Terrors, bids you to ignore the painted barbarians lurking in the jungle surrounding the city. They ask you to forget about the annual pirate raids and the criminal gangs running cutthroat theft and smuggling rings. You needn't even worry about the whore to the north despoiling elven tombs. Gull is a nice town, honest. Truth is, if you wanted nice, you would have stayed at home. So I look forward to getting this. And one thing that's nice about this adventure is that it comes with like simplified Tunnels and Tunnels rules. So it's got, well, they call it mini rules. So it talks about rolling up a character, even has pre-generated characters and also spells going up to level 4. So if you want to get started without the rule book and just try it out, this might be the way to go right here. This is all you need. And I think it was like, $19.95, like $20 on the website. And then finally, I also picked this up on the website. This is a sample, mini rules and solitaire campaign done for the Japanese market. And what's really interesting here is that all the artwork is kind of that manga, anime style. So you can see what their pre-gen characters look like. But everything's in English here, so this is definitely a usable book. And just like that free RPG Day book I bought back in the mid-2000s, you can see this is another one. So, and it was very inexpensive to get online. So there you have it, the original Solitaire RPG system. And it's all readily available again with the revamped website, so that's exciting, especially for us Tunnels and Troll fans. And if there's something you haven't heard of before, this is something you may want to consider. All right, this is the Fantasy Skirmisher, and thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.